Hey, what's up, guys? It's Renaldo here. So, this video is going to focus on something that I never ever thought that I would say. And yet, here we are. And I think that the overwhelming majority of you that watch my content here can attest to it. There might be some people that disagree. And if you disagree, then please tell me why you disagree. And that is that the more I speak on the Democratic Alliance, the more I realize that there isn't really a difference between a massive chunk of DA supporters and the EFF, ANC, and MK supporters when it comes to their blind loyalty to their political party. And that is quite concerning because it's something that when I was in the organization, I didn't think existed. I thought that people were rational, that people were holding the party to account, and that when the party went down the wrong road, then the voters and the members would bring it back to where it's supposed to be. Now, in my case, I think that I'm getting probably a lot more of it because a lot of people see me as a former member of the organization and that I've got an axe to grind with it, which I don't. You know, I've made peace with it long ago. And I believe now truly that they did me a moerse favor if I look at what's going on in the organization. Because believe it or not, I would not have been able to stay with a political party that has moved so far to the left. This party reminds me of the Democrats in the United States right now, and I've never ever been a fan of the Democrats in the United States because of their woke leftist ideology. But with that being said, the point is that I've just noticed that not so much on YouTube and definitely more on Facebook, that whenever I speak about the Democratic Alliance or just bring something to the attention of the public, then I'm met with a lot of negativity on Facebook. Not as much as the positives, but definitely still negative. And then on YouTube, I mean, I would say that 95 to 99% of you agree with what I have to say. So it's quite interesting that it happens on Facebook. I suppose that's where most of the bored and lonely women and tunnies are that just want to fight with other people for the sake of fighting, you know. But I think that it's quite clear for anybody that's willing to see that there has been a fundamental shift in the Democratic Alliance before 2024 and before joining the GNU versus post election and post forming part of the GNU. Now, just to bring it back to what I want to talk about, it's very clear that the overwhelming majority of you on YouTube agree with what I have to say. And I can see that in the like to dislike ratio. I can see that in the comments. And what I find interesting, though, is on Facebook, it's kind of still overwhelmingly in support of what I have to say. But there definitely is, I would say, 20 to 30% of the comments that are very, very negative and very antagonistic and personal. Now, I'm not sure what these people expect of me because it's very clear that I'm a political commentator that is also involved in politics. And I think it's common knowledge that I was part of the DA for 13 years, I believe, until they terminated my membership. And now that I'm not part of the organization anymore, of course, I'm going to report on what is happening in South Africa. Now, even when I was part of the DA, if the DA made news for something or other, I would report on it because that is fair. Now, of course, my personal criticism I would keep for the party itself. And then if I felt that they didn't hear me, then obviously I would make a video on it, maybe just to bring their attention to it. And since, you know, being kicked out of the party or my membership being terminated, however you want to see it, it's normal for me to report on the second biggest party in this country. You know, like if you expect me to only report on the ANC, the EFF, MK, the PA, and then avoid the elephant in the room, then there's something wrong with you. I mean, I'm here to report on what's happening in South Africa. And I'm also not the one that creates the news. I'm the one that merely reports on the news. So the fact that mainstream media and various other publications are reporting negatively a lot more on the DA is not of my doing. That is purely because of the media deciding to, you know, speak on what they want to speak on. And To be fair, if it was unfair criticism, I would be the first to say it, but I'm sorry to say that the DA, since joining the GNU, is a completely different animal to the one before the GNU. Let me give you an example. Before joining the GNU, I would argue that the biggest controversy in the DA was the Schweizer Reinecke incident, and that incident cost them 300,000 to 400,000 votes, mostly from conservative voters that decided to join the Freedom Front Plus. Now, if you look at the DA post GNU, post the 2024 elections, where do you even begin to talk about the missteps by the Democratic Alliance? I mean, I'm not going to mention all of them because I can't remember all of them, but making promises to your electorate that you were going to fight Bella, you were going to fight NHI, you were going to fight EWC, only then to join the GNU and having a minister that has to oversee the Bella Bill, or the Bella Act rather, and have to implement EWC through Dean McPherson, and then just completely acting like you never made those promises to your electorate. I mean, that's the first misstep. Then John Steenhuisen. The White House incident, where he had a golden opportunity to tell the world what was happening in South Africa, but then deciding to side with the ANC. That was shocking. The personal things with John Steenhuisen, his credit card, the DA's credit card, his tiff and fights with other MPs and other ministers and trying to throw them under the bus, the way he dealt with Roman Kabanak. Then, just the DA itself in how they've conducted themselves. The leader calling people Afri-MAGA because they are conservatives. Their minister, which is now their deputy minister, and their former leader accusing Afri-MAGA people and conservative people of not aligning with the DA's values and principles, and therefore pretty much telling them to get stuffed. It's things like these. I mean, there are multiple other things. Dean McPherson saying null doesn't mean zero. And I can go on and on. Tony Leon, Resolve Communications, etc., etc. You get the picture. So all of this is news that need to be reported on because it is the second biggest party in South Africa. And when I do it, then I'm labeled all these terrible things by some. And I have to say, it is the minority of people. Now, why am I making this video? I'm making this video because I just want it on record that I find it absolutely astonishing that the DA actually have these blind loyalists that I thought only existed in the ANC and the EFF and the MK. And yet here we are. You can provide them with the evidence, and then they would do everything but talk about what you just provided them. An example is, let's say a video that I've made where I give all the facts and I say it's problematic that the DA supported this. And then after a 10 or 12 minute video and posting it on social media, the response would be, "Oh, you're a bitter X." And it's like, okay, so firstly, you didn't deal with any of the issues that I've raised. And secondly, you are just insulting me for why? Like, because I touched your political party on their studio? Like, really? I mean, if you go and look at my body of work, I would argue that 90% of my content focuses on the ANC and the EFF. And obviously, since I am no longer part of the Democratic Alliance, I can be neutral in the sense of reporting on their failures. And it's really obvious that since 2024, there is a lot of those. And once again, you can go to the High Court and look at the things that came out against the DA. You can look at the public protector. You can look at what the Daily Maverick has found with the exposés. And I'm not even talking about individuals in the party. I'm talking about the party itself. So what I just actually want you to get out of this video is that, trust me, I'm gutful on speaking on the Democratic Alliance. Like, I wish that something controversial can happen in the EFF or the ANC or even MK that I can report on. But at the moment, the people that are consistently taking missteps and consistently saying and doing things that they shouldn't be doing is the DA. An example of this is John Steenhuisen. After John Steenhuisen lost the leadership position and then eventually was downgraded from a minister to a deputy minister, he himself, with no influence from anybody and definitely not from me, decided to go on record with Adrian Basson on News 24. Now, anybody with a brain would have known that that was a trap. It's a trap, from Star Wars, where anybody could have told them that you are going there and they are going to take things you say out of context and they're going to try and cause internal friction within the Democratic Alliance. Anybody could have told him that. And then the next week, Tony Leon, a former leader of the DA, did exactly the same thing. And everybody could have warned him too. But I do understand why he went, because he went to defend himself against the things that the former leader of the DA said. So, listen, to everybody out there that's upset with me and you want to call me all the names under the sun, firstly, I don't care. Right? I really don't care. You can have whatever opinion of me you want. You can have it. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, you can have that opinion. But come on. Like, at some point, you have to look at what the DA is doing right now and tell me that there isn't a change and that you can't defend them until kingdom come. At some point, you need to respect yourself enough to say, this isn't right, and I can't support this any further. Because at the moment, to a portion of the DA supporters out there, you look like blind loyalists and like sheep. You look exactly the same way that you accuse the EFF and ANC supporters of looking at, which is blind sheep, loyalists, Man, let's just go with whatever they say and we will believe them, and you don't question anything yourself. And at what point and what will it take for you to just come to the realization that no political party, firstly, is perfect, not a single one, and that if you commit yourself for the rest of your life to a political party, then you are doing yourself and your family a massive injustice. Because if a political party changes and their values don't align with yours anymore, then there's some point where you need to call them out. And unfortunately, there's still a massive chunk of DA supporters that aren't doing it and are just being blind loyalists for the organization. And I don't know if it's paid for. I don't know the ins and outs of what the DA social media team is doing. But all I can say is have enough respect for yourself, at least, to when it comes to your values and principles, to stand up for it and not just vote for a party because they told you to, ultimately. So to conclude this video, I just want to say thank you for everybody that's watching it and people that drop comments below, whether it's positive or negative. Ultimately it's still interaction, and that's not why I make this content, but it doesn't hurt. So I'm very happy to report that 90% of people are positive to my videos and the content that I produce. But it's just mind-boggling that the one thing I didn't expect would happen within the DA is there, and it is very scary. Because if we've got blind loyalists in the EFF and in the ANC and in the DA, then we're going to be stuck in this system where people are just voting because their political party tells them to do so, and they can't think for themselves. And if you can't think for yourself, then you can't implement your own values and principles and decide to vote according to that. And this is the biggest thing that I think has been missing in South African politics for the longest of time, is that people actually vote for what they themselves believe in, rather than voting out of fear or voting because a political party just told you to do so to avoid another political party from getting into power or keeping their power or improving their vote support. I mean, at some point in time, ladies and gentlemen, we have to vote in for what we believe in and for our values and principles. And I truly hope that 2026 is that year where you look at everything that has happened since the 2021 municipal elections and judge the political parties accordingly. And if the party that you voted for in 2021 and even 2024 didn't deliver on their promises, then why would you reward them with something that is very valuable in this country? Believe it or not, Your vote is one of the most valuable things that you have in this country. And rewarding a political party that firstly lied to you, that didn't deliver on their promises and have changed their ideology and have changed a lot of things of what they believe in, and I'm not just talking about one party, I'm talking about a lot of them, then like you are the fool if you are willing to reward them with that vote again after they've done nothing to show you that the vote that you gave them was the correct decision. So ultimately, all I'm asking for is just be neutral. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, share this video far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything. And if you'd like to contribute financially, though, you can give a super thanks. And the way you can do that is look for the $ below and choose an amount. Or you can become a member to this channel by clicking the join button below. And that'll be greatly appreciated. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Till later. Cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre.